Okay, stop abusing Bootstrap. This is Twitter Bootstrap, formerly known as Twitter Bootstrap, the CSS framework thing that we're talking about here. I hope that was clear. My name is Erik. I am a freelance web developer, designer, and I've been using Bootstrap for quite a while, and I'm frustrated when I see it sort of not being used as I judge to its potential. So let's talk about Bootstrap. First of all, Bootstrap is popular. It's really popular. It has more stars and forks and watches than jQuery and Node.js combined. But Bootstrap is fairly unpopular, because a lot of people don't like it. Because it generally looks like this. And if you do this, or this, or this, it's just, it all looks like this. And that's awful, this thing. So this is not what we're looking for. So why is it that everything looks like this? Well, this I think is where it is Bootstrap's fault. This is the download page. When you just go to the site, get Bootstrap, and you could download, you end up at this page. And the first thing you come to on this page is download Bootstrap. Excellent. There you go. And so you do that. And then the pain begins, because this is wrong. But the next thing you see is, ooh, there's the CDN version. That looks even easy. Also wrong. Both of these things are the CSS version of Bootstrap. And this is where you go wrong. Anything else on this page is good. This scary thing it calls source code, that's the actual Bootstrap that you wanted. Not this download Bootstrap business. That's terrible. Also, Bower is excellent. There will be some code examples here. I'll be using the less version because I guess I'm old school, but I assume similar principles apply to the Sass version. I have nothing against Sass. So, how do we go about doing it right? Well, so first you downloaded that source version, or you used Bower, or what have you, and you drop that into your project and unzip it and whatever, and then you make a new less file, and you do this, and everything is amazing. This is the sort of entry point for the correct way to bring Bootstrap into your project. Getting going with less, if you have not used less in your development pipeline in the past, is really easy, beyond the scope of what I can get into right now. But if you need help with it, Google it or come talk to me. I like Harp. That's what I'm using here. It's hosting this presentation, in fact. There's Brunch. You can do grunt stuff. You don't have to be a hacker to use less. And so this is how we start. It's very much like CSS. Bootstrap is made up of a bunch of variables to start. There are 376 variables in the variables.less file that define a bunch of stuff. And so here's just a few lines of it. The background color, the text color, link colors, fonts, font sizes, everything is variables. And as you can see here with down at the bottom, these font sizes, these variables, a lot of these variables are computed based on other variables. So like the link color and then the link hover color. Those are all computed based on this brand primary. The main colors that you know of from Bootstrap, the red and yellow and green and blue, the danger, warning, info, primary, those contexts, Those are all just defined in a few variables, but they're used all over the place in computed ways, like you see here, like this link color. So you've got your mystyles.less file, and you've imported Bootstrap, and now you start overriding variables. And the way less works is you can redefine variables later, and they will apply retroactively. So setting the body background color to be a little bit darker here will now apply to everything that was included already, and including all of those computed variables and all that stuff. So this has updated any variables that depended on this body background. And so, okay, what next? Now we want to actually start restyling some things. Well, the less file, so this bootstrap.less file, if you go look in there, is just including a bunch of other files, a whole bunch of other files, like 70 of them or something like that. And so that's all that Bootstrap is, a bootstrap file for Bootstrap. It's just including all of the other stuff. When you want to go start restyling something, like let's say we want to add more space below our panels. We need more room below a panel. Okay, so we hop into the panels.less file. Each component and each section of things that can be styled, the typography, the tables, the forms, the widgets like panels, modals, all that stuff is all defined in their own files. And so we hop into the panels.less file, and we see that the margin bottom is line height computed. So whereas before we were doing Bootstrap this way, we might have just dropped in a new style into our style sheet for panel and started throwing numbers in for margin bottom until it looked like more and we were happy with it. Here in less land, we come in here, we see this is line height computed, and we go, oh, actually, I want it to be about twice that. So back in our main style file, we say now the panel is just twice line height computed. And now if later on down the line, somebody comes along and reduces the line height by a bunch for whatever the reason, this style will update accordingly. So beyond just redefining stuff in this way, there are also mix-ins. Mix-ins are sort of the cornerstone of how Bootstrap is built. And again, this is just a tiny bit more powerful than, so okay, it's a lot more powerful, just a tiny bit more complicated than regular CSS. This is not like scary hacker stuff if you're not familiar. So most of Bootstrap is built with these mix-ins. These are all of the mix-in files. And you see there's alerts, and there's images and labels, and forms and tables and all of this stuff. These are all mix-ins, and let's real quick run through one of these, kind of how this works. So this is the definition for, this is the alert.less file, the definition for an alert. This is not a mix-in. This is the alert.less file that defines our alerts. And so we have a common style for all alerts. If you're familiar with Bootstrap, you know that generally there is a common style like BTN for buttons, alert for alerts, and then a context specific style like alert, danger, or button primary, that sort of thing. So this is the base style, and here's how it's defined. As you see, there's a bunch of variables there. If we wanted to adjust the padding of all the alerts, there is a variable for that. How nice. Oh, and look, there's margin bottom, line height computed again. But then the context-specific part of these is defined down at the bottom of this same file like this. This alert variant, that's the mix-in. That's what's defined in the mixins alerts.less file. So all of these context-specific versions of alerts are created using this mixin. Now if we wanted to add a new kind of alert, like say we wanted an alert whoops that was some strange color, we could do that just like this. We'd copy a line, copy lines just like these, and drop them into our own style file, dump in the variables that we wanted for our own colors and borders and all that stuff there, and we would have a new kind of alert. So the sort of the nuts and bolts of how this whole framework is implemented is really with the mixins, and you see that there's kind of mixins for all of these things. So I want to show an example of actually using a mixin, and then we're going to look at the grid. There's a nice grid system built in, and mostly the way that it gets used is you have a row and then you have columns, and in Bootstrap 3 it's column MD for the sort of medium size, and XS for the small size, and LG for the large size, and you can define all these different kind of columns for the different widths for columns in a responsive way so that you can have different size columns on different devices and all of that. That's the whole responsive first thing. That's also the unsemantic way of doing it. Unsemantic, a non-existent word that developers use to critique the work of their peers. So let's look at that, the unsemantic way. We have a row and then this 2 columns here, 8. So that's the rows are 12 columns wide by default. That's set in a variable. You can change it if you'd like. We'll stick with the default here. So 8 and then 3 with an offset of 1. So 8 and then a gap of 1 and then 3. And this is how it will look for the larger resolutions. So this is probably like a main column and then also some sort of sidebar. But here is the semantic way of doing it. So all that changed there, of course, was just these classes. We're not using the Bootstrap classes anymore. We made these classes up. These classes don't exist. These are original for our project, and now we have to style it ourselves, which we do with these mixins. Make row on the parent, and then make large column of 8 units, and make a large column of, and the LG is, again, that's the resolution we're targeting here, not the size of the column. Okay. Well, now the content looks, and I don't want to argue about semantic versus not semantic and is this better or not, but this is the way that the mixins work. And so to get a little bit more complicated, here's now taking a few different device sizes into account. So on the phone, it'll be 2 rows. On the tablet or so, it'll be 2 equal size columns, and then on the desktop or whatever, it'll be as it was before. So that's how it changes in the unsemantic version. The semantic version didn't change, but the styling for it changed like this. So pretty straightforward, not a lot of surprise here. This is technically more characters, so if that's a thing for you, then this is maybe worse. But this is how, and this is in the whole, in the documentation for Bootstrap, there's a whole big section on using their grids, and this is a footnote at the bottom. And I think this is really cool. I think it's a disaster that they spend so much time telling you to write stuff like that, and then say, oh yeah, and also you can have it be readable. If that's your thing. So, okay, I think I'm close on time here, but I'm going to go really quick into one other thing I wanted to sort of point out. There's a lot of stuff built on top of Bootstrap and to extend Bootstrap, and really a lot of stuff. The Bower package manager has over 500 packages related to Bootstrap things. And these things vary in quality, and I want to just really quickly show an example of doing it well and doing it poorly. in my opinion. I will make this bigger. Okay, so this is just a panel. This is a text box for reference. You'll see why this is going to apply in a sec. This is a regular select box. This is a plugin called Select.es. This is a plugin called Select2. Select.es, where did my computer just go? Oh, cool, it powered down because there's no power in this outlet right here that I'm plugged into and my battery was dead. Was that not the most amazing demo? Okay, well, I'll go it alone and I'll wrap up what I was going to say. Select.es uses less. Select2 uses CSS. When you have a site that looks like all those terrible sites that I started out with, Select2 looks just fine. Select2 is, I think, quite a bit more popular than Select.es. It looks just fine. But its Bootstrap support is that it includes a style sheet that makes it look like crappy Bootstrap. The Select.es version is all less. It introduces a whole bunch of new variables that you can use to customize with less, the way that the drop down looks and all of that. And it leverages the existing Bootstrap variables. So what I was going to show you there was I was going to drastically change the theme of that page just by dropping in an extra less file. And the whole page was going to turn black and all these high contrasty colors and all that stuff. And the Select.es version looks great with no additional configuration because it's built on all of these primitives all of these less primitives, whereas the Select2 version still looks like crappy Bootstrap. So point being, when writing a component or choosing a component to integrate with Bootstrap, use the less versions of things, stick with less, and watch out for stuff that isn't less or is not using less. And my time is up, I gotta go. My name is Erik, thank you very much.